Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Insufficient Friends. I'm Kevin. She's Nikki.
Hi.
And we have a special guest joining us, a special insufficient friend joining us on the podcast this week, which would be Nikki's dad, Bob. Bob, how's it going?
Good. I'm an insufficient friend. I like that.
We're all insufficient friends around here, but
It's a pleasure to be. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
If you can't tell by my dad's tone, he does public speaking quite often. So, Dad, I'm sure you'll pale in comparison to, or no, opposite.
No, we will pale
in comparison to you.
For sure.
Already.
Okay. I see how this is going to go.
Yep.
Oh, man. Okay.
Well, we had an exciting thing happen in our week. Being from Missouri, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Dad
Super Bowl win twice in a row.
Yeah.
Only the second team ever to win 2 Super Bowls in a row besides the Patriots in the early 2000s. So
Crazy.
Yeah.
Dad, you guys watched the game. Was it exciting in your house? Nerve-wracking?
Both. Yes. It was. It was exciting, and to be honest with you, we had some doubters in the crowd watching the game. And they didn't think they were going to pull it out, but I know they did, and they won. And it's a repeat. So now we're setting up for a three-peat.
Oh yeah. Let's hope so. That'd be cool. Which after again we were talking a little bit before we started that if you didn't even know if they were going to make the playoffs with how they started this year. So hey,
Yep.
You can't really count them out. We've obviously seen that. So, they've done it every which way, and they've gone on the road and won playoff games. They've won them at home, so you can't count them out. So
Yeah, it's exciting that they're good because we know from growing up in Kansas City or Dad and Mom having raised me in Kansas City, most of the time the Chiefs and the Royals were horrible.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we went to St. Louis for a lot of stuff, but it's exciting that they're good now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, Nathan, our son, I think he's right. I think there's a conspiracy. He has a conspiracy theory, and it's that they play terrible and lose some games, drop the passes. It's a big Andy Reid, Mahomes conspiracy, and then they turn it on in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see where that would come from. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With how they've done with how they did especially this year in the playoffs, that's definitely I can understand that conspiracy. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like how in baseball games and softball games, the pitchers, when they warm up, throw horrible and then they come out guns blazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's unfortunate that you can't even talk about that now without talking about the incident that happened afterwards.
Yeah, at the rally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was super sad. I did see there's been a lot of people donating to the family and the kids, and everyone's going to Children's Mercy to visit. And
yeah, which is
yeah,
good.
It's sad that it
It's
happens, but our
terrible that it
community's
happens.
strong, and
Yeah.
I think the support is there from the citizens, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. On a lighter note, we don't want to, bog things down too much. But Nick, you said you had a couple of a shout out this week.
Yeah,
for
just
somebody?
one. It didn't come from Instagram. I
Okay.
just wanted to shout out Stevie.
Oh,
I got
Stevie,
brunch
okay.
with her, and she's doing well, and her job's going super well, and I'm super happy for them. So,
Good.
shout out Stevie. We love you very much.
Yeah, Bob, is there anybody you want to shout out on here? Well, before we move on, anybody in particular you want to name or anything? Say hi to.
I don't know that I know anybody who will be listening to this in the future. I will shout out.
Thanks.
I get that.
Tell you what, I will give a shout out to your lovely mother who's upstairs listening.
Yeah. And your son?
He got a shout out.
You think he'll listen to this podcast?
I was going to send it to him.
Oh, well, shout out to our favorite son.
Awesome. Have you had any
man.
this week?
No, I didn't really have much this week.
Okay.
But we didn't really have any comments that I saw pop up. So, but I did Nikki, Bob, Nikki tells me you have a major in psychology. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So I got a question. What? Because she said that you started out going to school for ministries, correct?
Yes, I I was in the seminary for a while.
Okay.
Yes, I was.
So what made you switch?
Well, okay, so there's a story to that. So when I went through high school in the seminary, and then we moved to they sent us to St. Louis for a year, and we went to it was the Vincentian order, St. Vincent de Paul, and we were Vincentian uh, students, and they sent us to Cardinal Glennon College in Shrewsbury, it was in St. Louis, and it was the Catholic diocese um, school college, and they put us in with the young men who were studying to be Catholic priests in the St. Louis diocese.
Okay.
They closed it our freshman year and sent us to St. Louis University, and then you got all these wide-eyed seminarians running around a university campus with all the distractions that are involved in a university campus.
Yeah.
And there were some other things that happened, and it just caused me to reflect and think, okay, do I really want to go down this road right now? So I left the seminary, stayed at St. Louis University. The plan when I was there, I had a major in philosophy and a minor in psychology, and I was going to teach and counsel and do things and as a priest. And then when I changed, I thought, well, what can I do in the real world with a degree in philosophy? So I changed it to a major in psychology, minor in philosophy, and then graduated, and I worked, just messed around, moved back in with mom and dad, messed around, kind of found my way. And then I decided I'm going to put myself through the police academy.
Okay.
And I did that like a year and a half out of college. I realized that I can't just keep fiddle farting around. And did that, and then I got hired in our local hometown, and that's how I met Nikki's mom. And then we moved here, and
Oh yeah, I like the story of how you guys met. Tell that story.
sure. So I had been in Warrenton probably 5 years, and so Walmart every day, one of our jobs was to take the Walmart manager or assistant manager to the bank. And we'd go in front of Walmart, pick them up with their multiple $1,000s worth of cash. They'd jump in the police car, and then we drive them to the bank, and they'd make their deposit, and then we drive them back to Walmart. They don't do that anymore because it's dangerous,
Yep.
Yeah.
because people got robbed and shot and killed, and now they use armored vehicles. But at the time, so um, I kind of met your uh, Susie, Nikki's mom, was assistant manager, and that's kind of how we met. And then she was all starry-eyed in love, and yeah. So that's kind of how we met, and then we just kind of started dating, and it all went from there.
Okay. Nice. That's fun. So I have another question that kind of relates to all of that. So how often over the years that you've been in the police force, how often would you say you have used the has the psychology degree come into play in what you do on like a daily
Oh,
basis?
yeah, every day. When I was actively working the road, um, and I had a liberal arts education, but I was not a public speaker, and I had a hard time learning how to communicate with people. But when you're working the road in a small town, it's easier to learn. I mean, I can count on one hand the number of fights I've been in as a patrol officer, but I can count. I've lost count of the fights I've talked myself out of or talked somebody out of,
Hmm.
uh, and de-escalated a situation before de-escalation was a buzzword, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that helped me having that degree, but it also, as I moved into supervision and management over the years, I've fallen back on that to
Hmm.
help me deal with leadership and understanding team members and employees and people that you're trying to motivate. You've got multiple generations in the workforce, and just
Mm-hmm.
all these things combined together, and learning about not necessarily learning about psychosis or mental disorders, but I mean, just having to understand theories about why people do what they do has been beneficial, I think. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
it,
Yeah. That makes
yeah,
sense. Like that's dealing with
Mm-hmm.
people all the time. That seems like something, especially in situations that you might find yourself in, that seems like it would be
Yeah.
beneficial. So that makes
And
sense.
it's funny that you put it like that, Dad, because I feel like in my job too, I also have to not nearly on the scale you do, but people get frustrated because when you're a financial advisor, money, I mean, the things that are central in people's lives are their family and money. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's not much else that really affects them day to day. So you get some people that are mad, and then I always stop and think, why are they feeling this way? What? And then sometimes I'm like, okay, if I was my dad, what would I do? Because this person is very angry. It's funny that you say things like that too, because I think about the whys of people's behavior too, and I think I learned that from you, to just dig deeper, put yourself in their shoes, really be empathetic before reacting to anything.
yeah, and let people vent,
Yeah.
and because they are passionate about that, because their family, their funds, that's their future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you
Mhm.
lose stuff in the stock market, it may not be your fault, but they're venting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so and then I went on and got my master's actually related to police work, police administration.
Okay.
Um, I always encourage, our officers, you don't have to get a degree in criminal justice because you can get a degree. We have officers with degrees in education. We have one we're getting ready to hire. She has a degree in political science. You start out your life and you plan to go one way, and I think sometimes the key is learning how to communicate as an officer. And if you
Yeah.
have a degree or you don't have a degree, sometimes that just helps you. Any education is better than none, and
Yeah.
it helps you understand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So I have another question about being in the force.
Yeah.
Is there any funny stories that stick out to you over the years that you would be willing to talk about on here? That's like just something that's really memorable that sticks in your head.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have a lot. I mean, when I was working the road, there was more stories than what when you get into administration.
Mm-hmm.
I always have a flashback to working one day. It was me and another female officer, and their dispatch calls us and says somebody's just talking to us on the phone. They're going to commit suicide, and it's a bad deal. It's an alarming deal, but it gets a little humorous now, 25 years later, right? 20 years later. Um, and so she gets there first, and she's screaming on the radio that he has a bolt in his head. He has a bolt in his head. I don't know what to do.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it was in a trailer park, and it was in a trailer. And I remember, what is she talking about? A bolt in his head. And I just remember going in the door and freezing. I've never seen anything like it. The guy had a crossbow bolt.
Oh my
And you
gosh.
ever see those cartoon things where you
Like
put
the
Yeah.
on the
head
red
Uh-huh.
thing
things.
and there's an arrow going out one side of your head and coming out the
Yeah.
other? That's what it was. And we sat there and we looked at it, and she's like, "What do we do?" And I said, "I don't know." And he was breathing and alive. And I'm like, "I don't know." And I was technically her supervisor, so I said, "Take some pictures, and here's a suicide note." And we're just standing there. And then the volunteer fire department, the EMS paramedics got there, and I felt better because they were like, "What do we do?" And then somebody said, "Did we pull it out?" And then somebody, "No." And then they took him to the hospital, and I think he survived. He may have had some brain damage, but he didn't die that day. And I've
Mhm.
just, when people ask me, "Can you think of anything funny?" I mean, that's cop humor, right? It's tragic, but it is what it. I'll never unsee that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sure
I'm
You know?
that
sure.
sticks with you because it's traumatic. for that person especially. But
It's
yeah,
not something
the
you would
first
ever
responders are
see.
always the
Yeah.
ones to handle that.
Yeah. I'm sure.
The average person doesn't see that. I mean, there's been a
Yeah.
lot of funny. I've had a lot of good times over the years and funny stories, but um, I'll never forget the day I was a new officer and I'm standing out in the parking lot. And one of the things I had a training officer and very little. I only had a training officer for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So it was kind of one of those deals where they hand you the car keys and say, go patrol the city. And so I'm standing out, and you were supposed to take the shotgun and load it in the parking lot, and then lock it in the car or the trunk,
Hmm.
and then you unloaded it before you put it back in the building at the end of your shift, right? So it's in the morning, and I'm standing at the trunk of the police car, and I look up, and the chief comes walking by, and he said, "Good morning. How are you?" And I said, "Good morning, chief. How are you?" And I looked down, and I had shoved the shotgun shell into the shotgun backwards. And I grew up with shotguns and hunting and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
I looked down and I could not get it out. I had to get help to get that shotgun out because what'd you do? And I said, well, I got nervous. The chief walked by and and he's like, well, and they called me Opie. They called me Opie at the time because uh I look like
Andy
Opie from
Griffiths.
the Griffith show. And I was young, and then they're like, well, Opie shoved a shotgun shell in backwards. You better.
Now do you get where I named my dog from,
Okay,
Kevin?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Opie was named after partly Andy Griffith and partly my dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. She also tells me you're a Nikki also tells me you're a whiskey connoisseur, whiskey drinker.
Oh no, a connoisseur is like painting a big picture on that pig. No, what did that? It's like putting lipstick on a pig and rolling
Yeah.
it out there. No,
Yep.
I'm not a connoisseur. I do enjoy a sip of whiskey here or there,
Hmm.
but I'm not a guy that spends $500 on a bottle of whiskey. I have
No.
friends that do that, and I enjoy theirs. I'm
Yeah.
not doing it.
Okay.
We'll talk a little bit about whiskey and the distillery tours we've been on and stuff. But Dad, I want to know, so Kevin, have you seen An American Nightmare on Netflix? It's a documentary, a
I
docu-series.
haven't. No.
Okay. So basically, just a quick rundown. It's a real life, a true crime. This fiance, um, the lady was kidnapped overnight. They had drugged the guy and then told him, here's a timer. You don't do anything until then. We have a camera on you. We're gonna know. We'll hurt her if you do anything. So he didn't call the police. Didn't call the police. Finally, he was like, just clear headed and was like, oh, I need to call the police. And long story short, the detectives didn't believe him. They thought he had something to do with it, when in reality it was like his fiance that was kidnapped. And the whole docuseries is about the, I don't know if it was corruption, but they did not investigate properly.
Okay.
And so I also had Dad watch it too. So Dad, give us your thoughts, because I was wanting to know more. I know you said briefly in a text that you couldn't believe that they investigated that way or something like that, but give us a rundown of what you were thinking as you watched that.
I thought it was a classic. I mean, they really set that up. What was it, 4 episodes?
Mm-hmm.
And then the first episode, you thought, oh man, that boyfriend, he did it, And I found myself thinking, because normally in these cases,
It
it's,
is,
it's,
yeah.
it's a significant other,
Yeah.
or a husband or a wife or somebody is the person that's going to do you in more than
Mm-hmm.
likely. And I'm like, okay, the guy did it. They'll figure it out. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, holy crap, he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then somebody else did it. And then I'm like, and then it's like, oh, she's alive. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, how does this happen? And how do you get so wrapped up? But then what the documentary didn't dive into that I would have liked to known is this FBI agent was
Mm-hmm.
dating the ex-girlfriend,
Yeah.
and like what part did that play into it? And then
Yeah.
the other agency, it's classic because I've seen this happen where another agency says, well, wait a minute, we just had this happen. and
Mm-hmm.
they'll call us and we'll say, "Oh wow, okay, well we had that," and you start connecting the dots, right?
Yeah.
Because criminals, they officers or police departments work in jurisdictions, and you pretty much stay in your area. But criminals do not know jurisdictions. So the fact that this guy did all these crimes here and then moved and then went there
Mm-hmm.
and had a cabin or whatever, and I'm like, this is like the weirdest story, and I can see how people would say that's too bizarre to be true. I
Mm-hmm.
say people, officers would be that's too bizarre to be true. But and the fact that they didn't go back when the other officer came in from the
Yeah.
other agency. And then I'm like, wait a minute. At the end, not only did they not address the FBI agent thing, and I didn't watch anything else, I didn't Google anything else,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't try to discover the back scenes of this deal. But why didn't he? There were supposed to be two or three people with him.
Yeah.
Who, they never went back and talked about charging these other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, real life is not TV,
Yeah.
but that was a weird thing.
Now it seems like real life sometimes is crazier than they can even come up with to
I
put on
know.
TV.
Oh
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
but
yeah.
it was weird because the FBI agent that came in was positing this theory based on the movie Gone Girl
Okay.
and how it was all a setup. And so he came in with like this bias, and then it was almost it was a docuseries, so they spin it how they want it. But it was like he spun everyone in that direction, and then they couldn't come back off of it and hold a proper investigation. Was the take I got, but they want us to see what they want to see. But
Yeah.
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 And it's interesting too, if I can add, I heard before I heard about it from Nikki, one of our detective sergeants said, I've got homework, and we have like 8 detectives and 2 detective sergeants, and he came back in and said, everyone needs to watch this documentary, and you need to understand what they were doing so that this does not happen here. And I thought, I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I forgot about it. And then Nikki said, "Hey, you got to watch it." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was supposed to. That's homework for those guys. I need to watch."
That's homework for me too.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay.
Okay, the last question I have, and then we can talk about whiskey or whatever, is Dad, I'll go first. What is your favorite memory of me growing up? And then what's your favorite like family memory? So mine, that way I give you time to think because I didn't text you this question beforehand. Um, I don't remember why we were only in Branson together, or Nathan and Mom had gone and done something else. But my favorite memory with just you, and you'll like this, is the Titanic Museum in Branson. I
Yep.
love the Titanic
It's a
Museum.
great. It's so
Like,
much fun.
drawing a card
Yeah.
and see who survives.
Yeah, which is
I just
amazingly
love that museum.
demented, but
I
it is.
know.
It's my type. Yeah. It's,
Yeah. So I think that was one of my favorites with just you, Dad. And then as a family, and Kevin, I don't know if you've been these places. We took a family vacation to Washington D.C. and Philadelphia
Okay.
and Salem also. Well, I don't know. I don't remember how old I was. I was old enough to remember. Nathan might not have been. But that was my favorite family trip because a lot of the others were like beachy or, because the sport was there or band was there. But that
Yeah.
was like a dedicated family trip. And so I think that was one of the ones that I really enjoyed us
Okay.
together.
Yeah, those are nice.
What
Hey,
about you?
hey, Nikki.
Yeah.
That DC trip was good. Kevin,
Hmm.
I think what Nikki probably would remember the most, and Nathan, was the Holocaust Museum and meeting a
Yep.
Holocaust survivor.
Oh,
And
that's
That
Yeah.
trip, that trip was neat because it was totally devoted to family, and
Yes.
we were nonstop museums and seeing things and
Hmm.
all kinds of stuff. We got into all kinds of places. And I remember President Obama had been recently elected.
Hmm.
And so that's how long ago it was. I think it was his first term. And
Yeah.
the whole city was just joyous, and it was a neat time.
It was
But
fun.
we bought subway passes because we rode the subway a lot. And his picture was on the subway pass, and I had it in my wallet forever because I'm like, this is cool. First, and then, but what she didn't tell you about the Branson trip is it was me and her at the Titanic because the other two did not want to go.
Okay, I thought that's what it was. I
They were
couldn't
there,
remember.
but her mother and her brother had no desire to go to the Titanic Museum.
Okay.
I think they went and did something fun like ride golf carts or something.
Yeah.
And then Nikki and I
I
now
like how you say something fun as if we didn't have fun.
I did
But
have a good
I
time.
do
But
appreciate everything growing. Mom and Nathan did a lot of stuff together because Nathan and I have very different interests, and we love each other, but very different interests, like hobby
Mm-hmm.
wise. And I always appreciated, Dad, that you always did the stuff I wanted to do because Mom likes to do the stuff she wants to do. And so I always loved you were always at every band thing. Not that Mom wasn't too, but and then we would go to the ballet. Like you always did stuff I also had interest in. So I appreciate that.
I really liked the symphony we went to. We did a
Yeah.
little date. I got all dressed up. I don't remember what was playing, but it was you and I. We went to the
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City Symphony
Yeah.
and we had a great
Super
time.
fun.
There was a lot of, I don't have one memory that stands out. I loved the Disneyland trip when you guys were small.
Yeah.
Uh, Later on in life, we went when we tried to go to Kansas or to Denver. We were going to go to Colorado,
Yeah.
and we ended up sleeping in the rest area in a van and in the middle of
Yeah.
Kansas, middle of the dark. I mean, I just there's just a ton of stories, and
Yeah.
I love every one of them. There's a lot of good memories.
Yep.
Okay. Nice.
Kev, do you have any other questions?
I don't, not that I can think of at the top of my head. I can't say that something won't come up as we talk about other things,
Yeah.
but you know.
You want to do fun facts?
Sure. Let's hold on. Hold on. Gotta get to the sounder thing
Fact
here.
bomb.
Yeah, that's a yeah. Okay, so Nikki, fun
My
fact.
fact bombs.
What's your
Okay,
fact
so this all started. I got the idea to talk about whiskey and everything with Dad because I follow like a quotes page on Facebook or Instagram. I can't remember, but there was a Mark Twain quote on there, who is from Hannibal, and it said, "Too much of anything is bad, but too much good whiskey is barely enough." And then I was like, "Oh, I should do my fun facts about whiskey." So I just have three quick ones here.
Okay.
So first, there are more casks than citizens of Scotland. It's a 4-to-1 ratio of casks to people in Scotland.
Okay.
And then the United States is the second largest exporter of Scotch. France is the first, which I did not know
France
that
is kinda
France would
random,
be the
but yeah.
first. Yeah. And then the last one, and Dad already knows this because we did a distillery tour. But Kansas City style whiskey was brought back by J. Rieger Company, and they used a pre-prohibition practice of adding sherry to their blend of whiskey. And so anyone that blends their whiskey with sherry now has to call that a Kansas City style.
Kansas City style. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I've I don't think I've ever done a distillery tour. I've been to the distillery. Is it what's the name of the town that's north of Kansas City? The little tiny like
St. Joe?
no, it's like a little tiny. Like, is it
Weston?
Weston?
Weston.
Weston. I've been there, which I know they have. We went to like where the distillery is and stuff, but we didn't do a tour or anything. And then I know I've done a tour of the Budweiser factory, which is the only other like
Yeah.
liquor place that I've ever.
Yeah, we've done that one too. Dad, have we done any other distillery tours besides J. Rieger? I thought there was another one.
Well, I know Mom and I did a couple in Tennessee. We've been to the Jack Daniels a long time ago. You and I and Mom, when we went to Nashville, we went to the Bell Mead plantation.
Yeah, yeah.
They make wine, and then it was a winery and a distillery because their logo, I can see their logo on the side of the bottle was a horse,
Yeah.
and I think it's called Bell Mead whiskey. That was pretty good. Um, we haven't been to a whole lot. I mean, we've been to a couple.
I
I
think
know
more
we've been to
breweries, right?
breweries out in Denver and Colorado and
Yeah.
places and little micro.
Wisconsin and or
Yeah,
Wisconsin or Michigan or something.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What has been either brewery or distillery? What has been your favorite tour or visit?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Um, I've always liked it. So funny story. When I was in college, in the seminary. We lived on the south side of St. Louis in an apartment building.
Uh-huh.
And all guys, and we liked to drink and prove to everybody that we were not your average seminarian. And it was, I want to say, let's say it's 15 blocks from where we lived, just roughly, to the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. And they used to do these tours, and we would go take the public tour. And then they did it differently back in the day. This would have been in the early 90s, late 80s. You had 10 minutes to sample as much as you wanted in this room.
Hmm.
So we would go in there and pound beers, samples of beer. I mean, like they give you full glasses, and it would be like, I remember walking down there, you're like, oh, this is a long walk, and then you take the tour, which is a lot of walking. But I remember those trips back were always short, and it was pretty good because we had a race to see who could drink the most beers in 10 minutes.
That's funny.
So I'll always have a special place.
Was that with
Oh,
Mike and Rod?
oh, no, Rod wasn't there. It was Mike and Mike was
Okay.
involved there. High school.
Naturally.
But, that Anheuser-Busch will always have a special place in my heart, and the
Yeah.
Clydesdales and stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I do love the Clydesdales, and
Yeah.
we've been on several Clydesdales tours and stuff like that. That's always fun for both us and Mom's friend Stacy loves them too. So I think I always get really excited when I see their commercials.
Oh, yeah.
So like when they had the Clydesdales, and then I did not know that the one in the Super Bowl this year, the commercial, the yellow lab in that is Goldie Hawn's dog.
No.
Yeah, it was just something I saw afterwards.
Goldie
'Cause
Hawn is still alive.
is she? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I just know it was her family's dog. But I only saw it because there was a video on Instagram after. Yeah, now I'm
Well,
curious.
shout out. You want to give a shout out? Shout out to Warm Springs Ranch there in Boonville, where you
Yeah.
guys
Oh
are.
yeah, we do love Warm Springs
That's close
Ranch.
to you. Yeah, that and some of the commercials are filmed there, and some of the
Yes.
horses there. So
Yeah, we love Stan the Man is our family's friend Stacy favorite horse.
Goldie Hawn is still alive. She's 78 years old.
Okay, so yeah, she posted a video afterwards, and it was their whole family like on the screen. The commercial was playing, and then everyone was like, "Yay!" and was like petting the dog, and the dog was like, "Okay."
Whatever.
It was really cute though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to go to. I've never been to the Warm Springs Ranch over there. I mean, it's only 20 minutes from here.
Yeah.
I need to go do a tour of it. I've heard the Christmas tour is one of the best ones. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's really
we
nicely
did that this year, and it was super fun.
set up.
They
so.
have food trucks, hot cocoa. You can pose for a picture with the Clydesdales. Like they always have like the show horses and out ready for pictures, and it's fun.
Yeah. Because I know they. I mean, I've been to Grant's Farm in St. Louis, which
Yeah.
is where they train a lot of them and things. So I've been there and seen all of them there, and they have a few of them at the brewery, or they used to when I went. I don't know if they still do, but
Yeah, they usually have like at the end of the tour, they have like a couple different tours, and one of them I think you get to meet a Clydesdale at the end or
Okay.
something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
I haven't done that tour in a long time.
Okay.
But
Kevin, I forgot to share with you. I don't know. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
This
Well,
is
I can
Nikki's
anyway.
favorite, Nikki's favorite shirt I'm
Yes.
wearing today in
The
her honor.
Dadalorian.
What is it?
Oh,
Oh.
that's great.
the
The
Dadalorian.
Dadalorian.
Now, I don't know how you do it, so the listening audience may not understand. I don't know if they could see it, but it's the Dadalorian Father's Day T-shirt special edition from Nikki and Nathan Munns.
Yep. Yeah, we got that a couple years ago for Father's Day when Mandalorian was really, really popular,
Yeah.
and our family was watching it together, or not together apart, but talking about it.
Yeah.
And then my favorite is I think I put the picture of you in the Dadalorian shirt the next year for Father's Day on the billboard. I think, right, Dad? I think you were in that
The
shirt.
billboard. Hey, Kevin,
Yeah.
did she tell you she put my face
Yeah.
on a billboard
She-
for Father's Day?
I think she
On
told
the
me
side
that.
of the highway. Holy cow! It was a little electronic thing, and man, it was awesome.
Yeah, that was super funny to drive to the side of the highway, and
Yeah.
like we were all
Wait
waiting
for it.
anxiously, and Dad was like, "Why are we pulled over on the side?" We were like on the outer road, and I don't know what was going through your head, Dad, but we knew what we
here's-
were waiting for.
Here's what was going through my head. It's right next door to an indoor gun range and gun store. I thought they were getting me something special from the gun store, but it was even more special on the billboard.
Yeah,
That's
that was
dad.
fun.
That's yeah. I remember you telling me about that when that was
Yeah,
happening, and that's a lot of fun. That's
yeah,
a really cool idea and something that you can do. That's
yeah.
pretty neat. Are you a big Star? Is that where you got your Star Wars fandom
Fascination
from?
from.
Is from your dad?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
guessing you're a big Star Wars fan, Bob.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I never liked Star Trek, but growing up, I was a Star Wars kid,
Okay.
and I've I've yeah. So I tried to indoctrinate the kids into that.
Yeah. Do you still have the metal lunchbox that I used for
Yeah,
school that
I,
you had
I
used?
lost the thermos, but I have my grade school Star Wars lunchbox down
Yeah.
here, and I have all my Star Wars figures and all my
Yeah.
X. I have an X-wing fighter and a TIE fighter and a Millennium Falcon, and I have all that in a box somewhere that so that it's our inheritance to the kids.
Good, I'll take it. Yeah, I remember taking that metal lunchbox to school with Star Wars, and it was a little rusty, but I still
Yeah, it
wanted
was.
to really take it to lunch, and I thought I was so cool. And now looking back, I'm like, I don't think I was cool. But I loved using that lunchbox because you had used it. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. What do you have? You grew up with the original trilogy, obviously, Bob. So, what do you
Yeah.
think about the newer ones? Because I know my uncle does not at all. Like, he didn't have a problem with the prequels, like the Anakin ones when he's growing up, but he does not like the newest ones at all. Like, he watched the first one. I don't even know that he's watched the other two.
Yeah.
Well, I've I've liked them all. It's interesting how they start. Of course, in 1977, when it first came out, I was like 10 years old. So that was prime for me, right? But they start, and then you get the story. Now, I actually was not as big a fan of the young Anakin and Jar Jar Binks and those episodes.
Hmm.
They were kind of cool, but
Hmm.
the some of the later ones were a little better. The one where they get married, Anakin and
Padme.
yeah, where they get married was a little hokey, but
That's probably my favorite.
but you know the way it ends and everything. But
Yeah, yeah,
I've kind of liked them all. So the original though will always. I mean, I think because the you know now you look at that and you think, oh my God, the effects, visual effects are nothing. But that was hardcore back in
Yeah.
yeah.
1977.
Yeah,
I think
it
we
was
talked about that.
yeah,
How
because
now
I just
looking back,
rewatched it recently, and
yeah,
it's like yeah, it looks a little cheesy and outdated
yeah.
now when you look at it, but
But if you're a
yeah,
kid,
in the
if you're
70s,
10 years old watching that, yeah,
yeah, and also in the 70s, that was
Cutting edge.
revolutionary like technology and yeah, cutting edge.
yeah,
So, um, yeah, that's a lot of that's really that makes sense that that's where you've got it from though, and I
yeah.
love the Dadalorian shirt.
Yeah.
That's just awesome. Um,
What's your fun fact, Kev?
my fun fact has to do with space a
Ooh,
little bit,
okay.
not Star Wars,
Yeah.
but I actually saw it this morning when I was watching a video on YouTube before we started this, and it's if you could get a it's kind of math based.
Mm-hmm.
If you could get a piece of paper large enough, if you folded it 42 times, you would reach the moon. It would be thick enough to reach the moon, which doesn't seem possible.
What?
But the
Like by throwing it?
no, by thickness. It would be so thick folding it over 42 times that it would reach to the moon.
How big would the piece of paper have to be?
I don't I it's you can't you can't get one big enough, but it's yeah.
Weird.
It would reach the moon because the exponential every
Yeah.
time you fold it over it doubles. So, after so many
I
folds,
can't even picture that in my head.
it's ridiculous. But it's hard to imagine that something. It was like a video on random math,
Yeah.
math things that don't make sense. But
I don't know if I'd want to go to the moon. I was just thinking about this the other day because I saw a video of like someone was like, the moon's over. It's had its era. Let's explore something else now. And now they're looking for this other thing. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So they're looking for anything that's more habitable or whatever. And I can't remember where I read this, but it was basically like moon's out. That's last year's trend. Now we're moving on to bigger and better things.
I would totally take a trip to the moon. Like if somebody I would totally put me in the rocket. That's fine. Let's go. I think it'd be fun. Like I don't want to live up there or anything, but I think
I'd rather explore the ocean.
That'd be cool too.
Yeah, different frontier. Dad, which one would you rather do, moon or ocean?
Up or down?
What, up or down? I want to do the moon. I'd want to go to the moon.
Yeah. I just feel like there's so much life in the ocean that's still not discovered.
Oh, for sure.
And so you never know what we're going to learn, what could advance society that's already on this planet.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I know there are things that can eat me in the ocean and the ocean.
And there's not things possibly in space.
The moon, I don't know. So it would be, I don't know what can hurt me in the moon.
Gonna get eaten by an alien and never come back.
Yeah. I mean, I have said before on the podcast that it would be cool to visit the Titanic. That would be another thing that I would like to visit. Now, obviously, the whole, submarine that imploded. I don't want to do it that way because that obviously went horribly wrong. But it would be something cool. I just exploring things is fun. Mm-hmm. The only problem is you have to have a large amount of money to be able to do anything like that.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know. Do you have any other questions for your dad?
No, Dad, do you have any parting wisdom?
I have a fun fact.
Okay, cool.
Learned it today. This is totally random and weird, and we're going to end on this note. Did you know that before it was named Kansas City, they were considering calling Kansas City Possum Trot or Rabbitville?
I like Possum Trot.
Because the early settlers are just like, yep, that's what we see.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean...
Okay, yeah.
That's interesting. I'm glad it's not combat.
I mean, hey, who knows? Maybe
I feel like we already get enough, crap from being from Missouri, much less if you say, I'm from Possum Trot, Missouri.
Yeah. I know that it was always... I've been to several concerts in Kansas City, and I remember a couple of them. They have specifically called out the fact that before they came out on stage, their handlers or whatever told them, "Remember, it's Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas."
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think that's going to wrap it up for this week. Bob, thank you very much for coming on. It's been a lot of fun talking to you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, both of you.
And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.